Chapter 76. The Shade Wing. The next morning came quiet and gray. The Ark's lights were still dim, simulating dawn. Bash was already awake, finishing a systems check on his gear when the others filtered into the cafeteria. Armor plates clinked softly, the metallic scent of solvent and oil mixing with recycled air. No one spoke much. Rixer and Callan kept to opposite benches, the same cold silence still sitting between them. Ammo topped off, Nair said, running a practiced eye across her rifle. They went through the motions efficiently, the rhythm of professionals who had done this too many times to count. When the last check finished, Rixer finally broke the silence. So, he said, voice gravel rough, where are we going this time? Bash straightened his belt and looked up. Portal 415. We've got low probability signatures for Blink Step and Still Veil, 3% each. 3, Rixer repeated. That's it. Better than nothing, Bash said. Nair frowned. How many total abilities are even left? Counting what we've seen? Bash asked silently. Give me the list. SE. 9 unacquired resonance types remain, she replied inside his mind, tone precise and clinical. Soul Ren, time, space, gravity, blink step, still veil, reincarnate, imbuing, and alchemy. Each carries sub-branches across Tier 3 potential thresholds, but all remain unclaimed. He gave a single nod, outwardly calm. 9 left, he said aloud. Nair leaned back slightly, already running the numbers. So if you unlock 4 of those, there's about a 50-50 chance everything we get after that goes T. Oh, you. Her tone was casual, but the math hit everyone differently. Rixer snorted. That's if anything ever unlocks for him. Bash didn't rise to it. He just nodded once. Yeah, he said quietly. Yeah. Inside, though, he was less convinced than ever. Every pulse, every essence shock, every surge, nothing had shifted. Probability means nothing, he thought. Luck's not strategy. They geared up and headed for the portal deck. The corridor lights brightened as they approached, sterile blue against alloy walls. By now the routine was muscle memory. Sign in, equipment scan, extraction beacon handed over. Squad 09 Kappa, authorized for portal 415. The console drone recited. Standard beacon allocation. Bash clipped the warm metal disc to his belt, nodded his thanks, and followed the escort D on the access hall. The chamber for 415 was smaller than most. 50 portals lined the perimeter, all identical, white, vertical ovals of pure light, silent and cold. Bash's eyes tracked their numbers until they reached the correct one. Same as always, he said. Rixer cracked his neck. Let's get it done. They stepped through together. The sensation hit like always, weightlessness, spinning, a heartbeat of disorientation. But this time it was almost familiar. They'd done this enough that their bodies anticipated the vertigo. The ground came faster. They landed in darkness. For a second Bash thought his visor malfunctioned, until the fog thickened and began to move. A cold wind carried the smell of wet stone and decay. Massive trees loomed overhead, their trunks smooth and dark-lit, polished obsidian. No sunlight pierced the canopy. Instead, faint veins of bioluminescent moss traced along roots and stone, pulsing dimly in the haze. Status, Bash said quietly. All green, Terran replied, but ambient lights barely at 6%. Sensors struggling. SC's voice came through, calm and low. Planetary rotation irregular. Local daylight window approximately 3 hours. Remaining cycles occur under low luminosity atmospheric inversion. Recommend enhanced visibility mode. The HUD flickered, switching to thermal overlay. The world turned into gradients of blue and orange. Bash exhaled slowly. All right, everyone online? Ready. Nair said, let's move. He brought up the holographic map. 5 readings pulse faintly in the distance. All north. All close. 5 click. KS out from the portal. 5 signatures, he said, all grouped together. Looks like we start north. No one objected. The team formed up and started walking. The forest swallowed sound. Every step echoed half a beat later, warped by the fog. Even their breathing seemed too loud. When they reached the coordinates nearly 45 minutes later, the terrain changed, trees giving way to carved stone terraces and shattered bridges stretching across a fog-filled abyss. What remained of a vast city lay before them, a labyrinth of arches, towers, and fallen columns half buried in cloud. Sparta ruins? Callan asked, voice hushed. Negative. Structural design predates Sparta expansion by several centuries. The inhabitants were an arena-based civilization, competitive, honor-driven, obsessed, with trial by combat. Records indicate their cities revolved around colossal coliseums where science and blood sport merged. They engineered beasts for spectacle and fought them for glory, until the Spartans annexed the world and wiped them out. Bash's fist tightened, just like they want to do to Earth, he thought bitterly. The faint glow of runes flickered beneath their boots, fading when they stepped forward as if reacting to their presence. Creepy, Nair muttered. Stay sharp, Bash said. Fog's dense. We'll lose tracking past 20 meters. Auditory mapping unstable, SC confirmed. The mist responds to movement, light, and sound. Avoid sustained illumination. They moved quietly into the first district, a wide courtyard drowned in fog, filled with broken pillars and shallow reflection pools. The water mirrored everything imperfectly, creating ghost images of walls and walkways that didn't exist. Visibility's trash, Taryn whispered. Then trust your ears, Bash said. That's when they heard it. A low growl, distorted by echo, rolling through the mist. Something moved between the reflections. Contact, Rixer asked, hammer rising. Bash scanned the haze. Unknown, movement at 10 o'clock. Then came the sound of claws scraping stone. Light, deliberate, too rhythmic to be random. The fog rippled. Out of it stepped a creature the size of a tiger, sleek and black with faintly translucent fur that refracted the dim light into shifting silver streaks. Its wings were folded tight against its back, and for a moment, it almost seemed not to exist at all. Visual confirmed. Asian, SC said in his mind. Designation, Shade Wing. Alignment probability, still veil. Stealth predator class. Invisibility through stillness. Motion generates false reflections to mislead pursuit. Tracking possible only through physical disturbance. The creature moved, and instantly three of it appeared, flickering between reflections like shattered glass. Targets multiply when it moves, Callan shouted. They're illusions. Bash called back. Track the water. That's where the real one is. The first strike came fast. A blur of claws and teeth hit Rixer square in the chest, throwing him backward into a column. The impact rang like metal on metal. Sparks flared from his fatigues as he rolled to his feet, swinging his hammer wildly, hitting nothing but air. Leora slashed through one of the phantoms. It vanished in mist. Another appeared behind her, where she started, but the question cut off as the real Shade Wing swept past, claws raking across her shoulder plate, the impact spinning her sideways. She hit the ground hard, breath leaving her in a pain grunt. Spread out, Vash yelled. Keep visual gaps closed. Nair fired, the rifle's flash lighting the fog in harsh bursts. No solid contact. It's phasing. The creature reappeared 10 meters away, wings half flared, mist streaming off like smoke. Then it vanished again. Resonance fluctuation detected. SC's voice sharpened in his head. Local distortions consistent with stealth field interference. Meaning, he asked silently. It's bending light around itself. Only vulnerable during attack sequences. Wait, foe. Are it to strike? Bash shouted. The fog thickened, coiling low. Then, movement. A blur darted left, then right. Callan turned, loosing two quick arrows. One passed through empty fog. The other struck stone. Miss, damn it. The Shade Wing hit him from the side, claw slicing through his chest plate, knocking him sprawling. He rolled just in time to see it vanish again, his armor smoking from the impact. Tarrant, cover him, Bash ordered. She broke from cover, sliding to Rixer's side as he struggled to rise. Holstering one pistol, she pressed a glowing hand against the torn section of his armor. Golden light flared beneath her palm, tendrils of essence snaking through the crack. Hold still, she muttered, forcing the energy deeper until the smoke faded and the metal cooled. Yerson, Abel, move. Rixer pushed up with a grunt, gripping his hammer. Something flickered above them. Nair looked up. Hi, the creature dove, wings extended, silent as death. Bash twisted aside, but its tail caught him mid-turn, sending him crashing into a broken wall. The breath was punched from his lungs. His vision flared white, vital signs elevated. SC warned, don't black out now, Bash. He gritted his teeth, pushing up. Still here, he muttered. The Shade Wing landed near Taryn, wings sweeping in a wide arc. One talon caught her leg, cutting deep before Leora intercepted, blade flashing in a counter-strike that tore through one of its wing joints. The beast screeched, blindingly loud, its image splitting into three again. Two illusions, one real. Too many targets. Dark shouted, lashing through another phantom. His cleaver passed straight through it, leaving trails of mist. He turned just in time to see the real one materialize behind him, its claws sinking into his back. He roared, spun, and smashed an elbow into its jaw, driving it back. Everyone hit. Taryn snapped, voice tight with pain. Everyone's hit. Bash barked back. Stay focused. Rixer roared, hammer humming with stored energy. Come on then, hit me again. The beast obliged. It slammed into him from behind, claws tearing into his arm. He grunted. Blood sprang across the stones, but instead of letting go, he locked both arms around its torso, holding tight even as it bit into his shoulder. I've got it, he shouted, veins bulging. Shoot it. Taryn fired first, her round sizzling against its H. eyed but doing little more than scorch the fur. The beast thrashed violently, wings flaring, throwing Richter off balance. The fog around them lit up with muzzle flashes, arrows, and silver streaks from Leora's blade, all striking the writhing mass. Bash moved on instinct. He launched 2 knives in quick succession. One missed in the chaos, but the other embedded deep into the creature's flank. The blade's edge flared red as Razorbeam activated, the hum rising into a shrill metallic whine. The weapon twisted from within, grinding through muscle and sinew in a spiraling burst. A shimmer of crimson pulsed through the wound, light flashing under the beast's translucent hide. The shade wing shrieked, the sound distorted, almost hollow, as if part of it came from every reflection at once. "I deconfirm," he yelled. The shade wing shrieked, twisting free and vanishing again, but the wound bled freely, droplets glinting like liquid mercury as they fell across the stone. "There," Bash pointed. "Track the blood." Naira dropped to one knee, scanning through the mist. "I've got eyes on the droplets," she said, tone steady but taut. She steadied her breathing, the reticle pulsing red as she lined up the shot. 10 seconds, she murmured. The fog shifted, a faint outline, barely there, moved behind Richter, its shape flickering in and out. Then it lunged. Naira squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked through the haze and hit the open wound dead center. The shade wing convulsed mid-leap, crashing into the ground with a shuddering screech. "Now!" Bash barked. Richter staggered upright, fury burning in his eyes mine. He brought the hammer down with a bellow, the blow striking the beast square in the chest. The impact echoed through the courtyard like a thunderclap. Leora and Dart moved in, blades carving deep into the creature's ribs and neck. Naira added a final shot through its skull, the round sparking against bone. The shade wing spasmed, wings flaring wide, then fell still. The air shimmered once more, and then, for the first time, it was truly gone. Bash stood over the corpse, breathing hard. His heart hammered in his ears. Resonance pulse detected. SC reported. Tier 2 greater. Still veiled classification. He exhaled, the ache in his chest fading slowly. Around him, the others gathered, every one of them marked by blood, claw gouges, or scorched fabric, but still standing. Taryn sank down beside Richter, hands already glowing as she began to mend torn muscle and burned skin. The fog closed in again, silent, heavy, and unbroken, save for the fading echo of their breaths. He didn't argue. She crouched beside him, placing a hand over the torn plates. Pale light spread outward, sealing minor wounds and restoring color to his skin. The others gathered nearby, watching the fog drift slowly back into place. "That thing was smart," Leora said quietly. "Too smart," Callan muttered. Naira exhaled, lowering her rifle. "And invisible. That's a hell of a combo." Bash wiped blood from his gauntlet and looked back toward the fallen shade wing. Its body shimmered faintly, already starting to fade. They approached carefully. The creature's body shimmered, dissolving into mist until only one of its wings remained, black as shadow, translucent at the edges, faintly pulsing with silver light. Bash knelt, grasping the edge of the wing. The moment his fingers touched it, the membrane hardened, shrinking rapidly until it was no larger than his palm, the glow dimming to a slow rhythm. "Veil fragment confirmed," as he said in his mind. He slipped it into his pouch and stood. "That's one down," he said. For the next few minutes, the team rested, quiet except for the soft hum of Terran's healing field. The fog pressed close again, thicker now, whispering faintly around the ruins. Naira checked her ammo counter. "So what's next?" Bash pulled up the map. The remaining 4 signals pulsed faintly in neighboring sectors, 1 swarm signature and 3 individual L markers, each spaced several clicks apart. "Options," he said. "Swarm to the north. 3 solos spread around it." Richter flexed his newly healed hand. "Swarm first. Clear the field." Callan nodded once. "Makes sense. Better to hit numbers while we're fresh." "Agreed," Bash said, dismissing the map. He glanced once at the place where the shade wing had fallen. The mist there was still thick, faint ripples curling upward before fading back into stillness. He turned to the team. "Form up. We're taking the swarm. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brundock Chapter 77. The elemental hollow the path out of the district wound through narrow corridors of cracked stone and vine-wrapped arches. Their visors flickered constantly, the fog thick enough to distort distance and sound. For a time, no one spoke. The quiet after the fight with the shade wing felt wrong, too still, too expectant. Richer's footsteps echoed a little louder than the rest, his hammer dragging faintly against the ground. Taryn walked close to Leora, checking her armor seals after the asked encounter. Even Callan, usually quick with commentary, said nothing, his eyes scanning the shadows as if expecting another flicker of movement in the mist. Direction? Naira asked finally, voice hushed by the fog. Bash glanced at the map projection on his wrist. Swarm signature, he said. Close. Beneath us. They followed the slope downward. The air grew heavier, warmer, the scent of wet dirt thickened every breath. Cracks in the stone glowed faintly beneath their boots, tiny fractures lined with crystalline residue, bleeding light like veins beneath skin. The terrain tilted further still, until they found a stairwell half buried in rubble leading into the earth itself. Rixer peered down the passage. Feels like we're walking into a furnace. The descent grew steeper. The sound, though, half-wind gave way to something deeper, the low hum of pressure and heat beneath the surface. And then, at the last turn, the fog began to glow. The fog changed as they descended. It bled color. Red veins pulsed through the mist like blood under glass. Streaks of blue shimmered along the walls. Every breath carried the faint tang of scorched stone. The path wound downward until the team reached a collapsed amphitheater, half submerged beneath the ruins above. Geysers hissed through cracks in the floor, each one spitting bursts of multicolored vapor. The ground glittered with mineral veins that pulsed faintly with energy, forming a natural lattice of fire, water, lightning, and essence flow. Bash stared down into the hollow. The mist was alive, shifting, flickering, charged. Then it moved. A hum rose, soft at first, then swelling into a droning wave that filled the air. The fog broke apart, and the swarm emerged. Thousands of glass-winged insectoids poured from the fissures and mineral vents, refracting the colored light like shards of stained crystal. Each creature glowed faintly with a different hue: red, blue, gold, green, violet, silver, the full spectrum of elemental essence given form. Terran squinted. How many are there? Too damn many, Rixer said, setting his stance, hammer sliding into ready position. Callan drew his bow, the string vibrating faintly with wind resonance. Wind signatures everywhere. They're cycling formations. Look. He was right. The swarm was organizing. Bands of matching color merging together in a pulsing rhythm. Red and green streaks white are led together, spinning like a cyclone. The air around them shimmered with heat. Blue and violet clusters interwove, crackling arcs leaping between their wings. Above it all, faint gold nodes pulsed, spreading restorative waves through the rest of the swarm. The first wave struck like a natural disaster. Fire with wind, combustion attacks, SC analyzed in Bash's ear. Lightning with water, paralysis fields. Gold essence nodes are healers. Coordinated synthesis confirmed. Then we break it apart, Bash ordered. One color group at a time. The first volley struck before anyone could move. A wall of flame and pressure slammed across the front line, hurling Leora and Dart backward into a fractured column. Lightning followed, crawling through the damp stone and locking Rixer in place. Scatter, Bash barked. They dove for cover. Fire burned across the fog, red light flickering over their armor. Callan rolled, loosing arrows that burst into slicing wind currents, cutting through a line of green insectoids. The air pulsed once, and he felt it, the familiar thrum of wind essence through his body. Rixer swung his hammer in a wide arc, smashing 3 lightning types at once. The unseen jolt hit him in the chest like a thunderclap. He grinned and kept moving. Leora's sword cleaved through a mineral type's crystalline core, and the weight of it pressed into her bones. That dense, grounding pulse that always followed an aligned kill. Dark dropped another beside her, sharing the same essence. Naira's shot burned through a fire core mid-dive, and she gasped softly, the heat ashing through her chest. But every time a beast fell without its proper wielder close enough, Ash felt it instead. When a wind insect died beyond Callan's reach, the current hit Bash square in the chest, sharp and restless. When a water type shattered across the floor, the cold tore through him, stilling his breath for an instant. When the essence-scored nodes burst midair, the strange emptiness that followed them sank into him like a Halden hail. The pulses all felt the same, raw, violent resonance slanting through his body again and again, until the world narrowed to rhythm and pressure. Every impact was just more of it, building, blending, impossible to tell apart, impossible to stop. The relic pulsed harder each time he took a hit, reacting to the damage itself. A heartbeat ants would ring his pain, growing faster, sharper, as if feeding on the fight. Rixer regained his footing and roared, lightning crackling up his arms. These bastards hit hard. Keep pressure on the elementals, Bash shouted. Take out combinations first. Wind fire, lightning water, whatever's pairing up. The team adapted quickly. Naira and Callan coordinated shots, dropping combustion pairs before they could build heat. Leora and Dark carved through mineral clusters, grounding the storm of fragments with heavy, precise strikes. Terran stayed low, firing in tight, deliberate bursts. Each round carried the familiar pale shimmer of her healing immunity, flaring briefly on impact before arcing back toward her squad. Every shot that struck an enemy released a pulse of restorative energy, mending boot, RNS, cuts, and fractures across the team in overlapping waves. The harder she fired, the stronger the return flow, her weapons doubling as both offense and lifeline. Bash's knives spun through the air, razor beam shrieking. Some impact hit twice, sometimes 3 times, eventually 5, the relic echoing every attack. Every echo brought with it a faint pulse of restoration, knitting bruised tissue and steadying his breath. Echo manifestation increasing. SC reported. Activation rate near maximum. 6 elemental variants detected. Healing resonance stable. He didn't respond. He could feel it. The rhythm of the relic was in perfect sync with the chaos of the battlefield. Richter crushed another lightning tide. The ore shattered a mineral pair. Dark followed with a downward strike that beat. Broke 2 more. The team moved as one, fluid, relentless. The fog glowed brighter, cycling through every color at once. Then the ground trembled. A deeper hum rolled through the amphitheater, vibrating in their bones. The swarm rippled back like a single organism, and from the upper shadows descended the queen. She was enormous, 20 meters long, wings refracting the ambient light into a spectrum of shifting color. Every flap of her wings sent a shockwave through the swarm remnants. Their attack surged again, twice as fierce. She's amplifying them. Nair called. Focus her. Bash shouted. They closed ranks and advanced. The queen reared back, releasing a barrage of molten shards. Terran dropped to one knee, both sidearms blazing. Each shot detonated in a burst of pale light. The heel, in resonance flaring outward to buffer the impact as the elemental blast hit. The surge rolled through the squad in waves of warmth, blunting the damage and sealing fresh burns before they could deepen. Hold steady, Bash yelled. Richter charged in, hammer glowing with blue light, striking at one wing joint. Sparks and molten dust rained down. The queen shrieked, tail slicing through the air and catching him full force, flinging him backward. Terran dove, catching him by the shoulder and forcing both palms against his armor, her energy flaring as she healed the deep gash under his chest plate. Don't move till I say, she ordered. Leora and Dark surged forward, blades striking the queen's underside, breaking through the prism plating and spilling molten essence. The air shimmered, and, other unseen pulse, they both staggered, taking part of the mineral essence they just unleashed. Bash moved through the chaos, knives flashing, echo strikes carving through the smaller remnants. He could feel everything, every pulse, every essence. It all hit him. Fire, wind, water, mineral, lightning, essence, all of it. Pulse density rising. SC said, sustainability at threshold. I can handle it, he muttered, driving both knives into the queen's exposed flank. Razorbeam screamed, grinding deep. The relic flared inside him, unseen but undeniable, each strike detonating in a storm of echoes, 5-fold impact reverberating through the swarm. Every hit landed once, then again, and again, each echo carrying a different resonance, each one feeding his pulse instead of draining it. Her cores changing color. Bash shouted, Nair, wait for gold, then shoot. Nair steadied her rifle, breath locked. The queen screeched, wings folding tight as the light inside her body shifted, bleeding from red to orange to bright gold. Nair fired. The shot pierced through the haze, tearing through the queen's chest. The swarm's collective cry rose and broke all at once, the thousands of glass-winged bodies collapsing midair as if the sound had killed them. The queen's body cracked down the center, the colors bleeding out until only clear crystal remained. It shattered, raining shards across the amphitheater before dissolving into mist. Silence followed. Bash stayed still, chest heaving, relic still thrumming like a second heartbeat beneath his ribs. SC's voice threaded through, the static in his mind, steady and clinical. Essence absorption complete. Total essence influx, 1,330 units, she reported. Breakdown, lightning, 185, mineral, 103, fire, 136, wind, 247, essence manipulation, 247, and water, 412. All Tier 2 greater classification. No unlock detected. Bash let the numbers hang in silence, chest still rising from the fight. Every strike, every echo, had counted, and still, nothing. No one answered for several seconds. They just stood there, surrounded by the fading colors, the smell of scorched stone still heavy in the air. Then Richter laughed once, breathless. That's how you kill a damned rainbow. Everyone's died. LL alive? Bash asked, voice hoarse. Richter laughed weakly. Barely, but damn, That was something. Taryn looked around at the carnage, then back at the team. Patch up check. Then we harvest. They gathered the fragments in silence, shards of glass like chitin, each one humming faintly with its element. Reds pulsed with trapped heat. Blue shimmered with the cool inner light. Silver sparked weakly before dimming. The ground around them looked like a shattered prison, the remnants of the prison swarm fading into steam. When the last piece was sealed in the containment pouches, SC's voice confirmed the tally in Bash's mind. Total collection, 2,473 beast fragments. Tier 2 greater classification, multi-element composition. Bash nodded absently. High ska, ending the steaming expanse of the hollow. The fog above shifted in uneasy waves, the color slowly bleeding back into gray. Let's get out of here, he said quietly, before the fog changes its mind. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 78, Bastion. As adaptation, the fog clung to them as they left the amphitheater. Every step echoed off the hollow stone, the air heavy with mineral steam and faint heat. The silence pressed harder with distance. No hum, no crackle of residual energy, just the sound of armor joints flexing and boots scraping against fractured glass. Bash brought up the static map projection. The faint blue lattice flickered across his visor, points pulsing softly like dying embers. Next closest, he said, voice low. Single target. Subterranean reading. Just 100 meters out. Depth signature lines up with the old data sets. Close, Richter muttered, tightening his grip on the hammer. Another one of these vaults. Leora muttered. Place is endless. Trends put it near structural core level. SC added in his men. D, her tone precise, low. Previous teams listed the area as the Bastion's depths. Environmental stability, moderate. Richter exhaled sharply through his teeth. Perfect. Another confined space. What could go wrong? They didn't need to travel far. The corridor sloped downward, the air cooling as fog gathered in dense sheets along the floor. Their lights cut through drifting dust, revealing massive figures carved directly into the stone. Ancient statues, corroded faces half buried in shadow. Each descent brought another row of them, silent watchers with cracks running through their bodies, dull orange light pulsing faintly beneath the surface like embers under ash. The air felt thicker here, heavy and close, amplifying every sound until the echo of their footsteps seemed to follow from all directions. When the passage widened, it opened into a vast subterranean vault. Dozens more statues lined the walls, towering and solemn, their glow casting slow waves of color through the fog. The space felt alive, every heartbeat mirrored by the pulse of the stone around them. This place feels wrong, Naira whispered. Their footsteps echoed loud enough to make her flinch. Bash looked up. Don't speak unless you have to, he said quietly. Every sound multiplies. It was true. Even a step felt like thunder, and the fog caught every vibration, holding it. The deeper they went, the more the sound built on itself until it felt as if something beneath the stone was listening. At the far end of the vault, the statues opened into a vast chamber ringed by shattered columns and scattered debris. Between them stood something half merged into the floor, its shape both organic and sculpted, a beast of impossible scale. It stirred as they approached, stone joints groaning, like flaring through cracks that ran along its massive legs and spine. Four-legged, plated in layered chitin and blackened rock, it towered high enough to scrape the chamber ceiling. When it moved, the entire floor shifted. Resonance confirmed. SE murmured in Bash's head. Durability classification. Surface density exceeds measurable scale. Recommend ranged approach. The Colossus turned, the sound alone enough to rattle their armor. Dust cascaded from its back as it took its first step, slow but unstoppable. Positions, Bash shouted. They spread out across the chamber, Naira and Callan climbing Wa. T remained of a column, Taryn and Bash anchoring the center line, Leora, Darik, and Richter taking the flanks. Richter moved first. His hammer crashed down on one of the creature's forelegs with a thunderclap. The shockwave rang through the vault, and did nothing. The leg didn't even tremble, didn't even chip it, he growled. Leora and Darik moved in next, blades sloshing into seams between plates. Sparks scattered, metal screeched, but again, no damage. Callan's arrows burst against the armor. Nair's rifle rounds pinged and ricocheted harmlessly into the fog. The creature turned toward the flashes of light and exhaled, a sound like collapsing stone. The shockwave sent shards tumbling from the ceiling. Keep moving, Bash yelled. Don't get caught in front of it. Taryn fired off rounds to keep the field saturated for healing pulses, her shots lighting the mist in streaks of white. Every hit counts for something, she said through gritted teeth, even if it's just keeping you guys alive. Naira adjusted her stance, breath steadying as she focused. A faint shimmer of green light coiled around the barrel of her rifle, her own essence weaving into the shot. Let's see how you like poison, she muttered. She fired. The round flared mid-flight, streaking with emerald light before striking the Colossus high in the shoulder. The impact sent a ripple of green energy crawling through the crack, hissing as it sank beneath the glowing seams of stone and chitin. The creature barely reacted, lumbering forward to swing its front limb through a pillar, sending it crashing toward TH. He ground. The shockwave alone knocked Leora off balance, but Dark caught her arm, pulling her upright as the debris smashed beside them. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Every attack did nothing. Every strike echoed uselessly. The Colossus simply kept coming, yet unyielding. Bash ducked under a sweeping tail that smashed a crater into the floor behind him. Shards of stone rained across his armor as he slid behind a broken pillar. SE, he hissed. Anything? Her voice came through tight but controlled. Left arm, movement delay detected. It's barely attacking with that side anymore. He glanced up just in time to see it for himself. The Colossus's right strikes were still brutal, but its left arm dragged behind, sluggish and hesitant, the limb trembling with each motion. The same limb Nair had struck. SE, confirm, localized weakening, corrosive compound interfering with structural integrity. Poison's doing it, Bash said aloud. Nair, hit the joints. All of them. Use your poison, copy that, she said, reloading quickly. Her next shots hit the knees and elbows, bursts of green light scattering off the armor, some sinking into cracks. The poison hissed slaughter this time, seeping in, spreading like veins beneath the plates. Richter struck again, and this time the ground trembled differently. The leg gave slightly. He shouted. That did something. It's softening, Bash said. Keep spreading the toxin. They adjusted tactics, focusing on the limbs. Nair alternating poison shots, Richter and Leora hammering weakened sections, Dark slicing at joints, already cracking from corrosion. Even Bash's knives, usually useless against such armor, started to bite when thrown into infected seams, the razor beam grinding deeper than before. The Colossus tried to counter. It swung one massive leg, crushing the floor where Bash had been standing seconds before. The chamber shook, dust pouring from the ceiling, but the movement cost it. Its left arm locked halfway through the swing, the poison joint refusing to flex. Nair reloaded again, breathing hard. 2 legs left, then take them, Bash called back. They kited it around the chamber, using its own bulk against it. Every strike it attempted left it slower, heavier. Its movements turned mechanical, clumsy, the glow inside its armor flickering unevenly. When its forelegs finally buckled, the sound was a rolling thunder that shook the fog from the ceiling. It crashed down onto its knees, sending out a quake that almost threw the team off their feet. Now, Bash yelled. Ed, Richter roared and charged, hammer raised high. Leora and Dark flanked from both sides, carving into the beast's neck plates. Terran fired to keep them healed, every shot sparking light across the stone. Bash's knives flew, embedding deep into the Colossus's skull plates. Razorbeam screamed as it cut through, amplifying the fractures. The glow inside the cracks flared, then dimmed. Richter leapt, hammer charged with power. He came down like an avalanche, striking between the embedded blades. The impact split the entire upper cranium in a single concussive blow. The Colossus fell still. Its glow faded, cracked, chaos turning to ash, leaving only silence and the steady drip of molten dust cooling across the stone. Then came the pulse. Richter staggered, clutching his chest. The surge of energy ran through him like lightning, heavy, powerful, grounding. He exhaled sharply, then grinned through the exhaustion. Tier 2 greater, he muttered. Durability class. Feels like my core just doubled. Bash nodded once, scanning the motionless carcass. You earned it. SC's voice came quietly in his head. Confirmed, Tier 2 greater durability. The team regrouped, quiet except for their breathing. Naira leaned against a broken column, rifle hanging loosely in her grip. Slowest fight we've had yet, and one of the easiest, Terran said, wiping her forehead. Poison did all the work. Poison and patience, Ash corrected. He looked toward the towering statues that loomed over the chamber, their eyes glowing faintly in the mist. This place rewards both. They approached the fallen Colossus cautiously. Its massive frame had gone still, the faint orange glow in its cracks fading to dull gray. Embedded in the rubble near its chest was a segmented bracer, stone fused with chitin, the same dull orange vein still pulsing faintly beneath its surface. Bash reached out and touched it. The entire piece shuddered once, then began to contract, plates folding in on themselves until what remained was a compact, palm-sized relic. It hummed faintly, warm against his glove. They packed it carefully into a reinforced container before stepping back from the ruined vault. No one spoke as they turned back away they came, the echoes of their footsteps swallowed by the fog. The air was heavier now, thick with the scent of stone dust and the faint metallic tang of the Colossus's remnants. Their lights cut the same path they had descended earlier, beams catching against the cracked statues that loomed from the walls like silent witnesses. They climbed the spiraling corridor in silence, the rhythm of their boots against the stone a slow, steady beat. The fog thinned as they neared the upper level until the vaulted passage opened once more into the ruined courtyard. What little light filtered through from above shimmered faintly on the broken tiles. Bash brought up the map projection again. The overlay flickered, faint and incomplete, only marking potential resonance trends gathered from prior expeditions. A few pulses appeared close by, one just 100 meters to the northwest, another cluster 200 meters further, likely the pack signature. Rixer leaned closer. Single target first. Bash nodded. Closest one's probably another lone beast. Easier cleanup before we hit the pack. Leora exhaled, rolling her shoulders. Agreed. We clear it, the group, then move on the pack. Once the ruins are empty, we rest before heading deeper. Callan adjusted his bowstring, scanning the mist. Fine by me. The sooner we get this place done, the better. They all shared a brief look. Mutual exhaustion, quiet understanding. Bash closed the map and pointed down the narrow path leading north through the haze. All right then, he said, his voice low but steady. We take the single, and sweep the rest. Weapons ready. Visors dim. They fell into formation once more. The fog shifted ahead of them, curling like breath over stone, as the team advanced toward the next faint signal pulsing in the ruin's heart. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 79. Coliseum of Strength. The fog pressed low over the ruins as the team made their way toward the next beacon, their footsteps echoing faintly through the fractured stone halls. Bash led the way. No one spoke for several minutes. The quiet wasn't uncomfortable. It was focus, the kind that came only after dozens of fights and too many close calls. The only sounds were the creak of armor, the click of weapons being checked, and the faint hiss of air filtering through respirators. Finally, Rixer broke the silence. Still can't believe that poison round crippled the Colossus like that. Nair smirked without looking back. That's what happens when you stop doubting my aim. Leora's brow arched. Your aim didn't melt through solid chitin. Yeah, but my poison did. Nair winked, Ed, tapping the side of her rifle. Guess you all just need better ideas. Dara chuckled. So what? We all start dipping our weapons in sludge now. Not sludge, she said with mock offense. Precision essence layering. That earned a short laugh from the group, even from Callan, though he quickly followed it with, I'd already do that. My arrows are wind enhanced every time I shoot. Bash glanced over his shoulder. You mean you're using wind to strengthen your shots, or to alter their path? Callan hesitated. Strengthen, so not trajectory control. Bash nodded slowly. You could be bending every shot mid-flight if you fine-tuned it. Callan's eyes flicked wide, realization dawning. Wait, that's possible. Before Bash could answer, Assie's voice threaded quietly through his thoughts. Correction, it's optimal. Resonance should function as an extension of physical motion, not a separate act. The more intuitive the link between movement and elemental output, the higher the efficiency. Bash let the thought settle, then spoke aloud. Everything's possible if you understand how your resonance interacts, he said, his tone calm and measured. We've been treating our abilities like separate tools. They are not. They are extensions of everything we do. SC continued in the back of his mind, each word precise. Integration principle. Resonance isn't cast, it's conducted. The more naturally you act, the less resistance there is between intent and manifestation. Bash's eyes narrowed slightly, an idea forming as the others listened. If we can learn to move that way, to let our essence flow through our weapons instead of forcing it, we stop wasting energy. We stop fighting ourselves. He slowed as the corridor opened into a wide archway, letting his gaze pass over each of them in turn. Naira, you've already proven you can infuse poison. Now put fire into your shots. Keep refining that. You might be able to alternate impacts, duty, and burst, depending on what we're facing. Nair smirked. I like the sound of that. Lower, Bash continued. You've got dual affinity, mineral and fire. That means you can enhance your blades and your defense. Every strike should be cutting and burning. Dark, same goes for you. Stop using mineral just to block. Use it to widen your reach. Leora's eyes lit faintly. We could layer our strikes, one to break, one to burn. Vesh in, I did once. Exactly. He turned next to Richter, whose hammer was slung across his back, still faintly crackling from residual energy. You, stop saving lightning for your hammer. Channel it through your armor. Make it part of your durability. If something hits you, it should pay for the contact. Richter grinned. You mean electrify myself? Exactly. Turn your body into a punishment. Finally, Bash looked toward Terran. And you, your heels, you shouldn't need direct contact for everything. You can enhance projectiles, maybe even temporary constructs, spears, shards, something that carries your healing signature. Terran tilted her head. You want me to shoot my teammates? Bash cracked a faint smile. If it keeps us alive. I don't care how strange it looks. That got a round of laughter from the group. Even the fog seemed to lighten for a moment. Then, as they walked, silence settled again. But now it was different. Focused. Everyone was thinking through their limits, their capabilities, the edges they hadn't yet tested. They crossed a collapsed bridge, descending through a stairway flanked by broken pillars. The air grew heavier with every step, until the ruins opened before them. A colosseum. It was ancient, carved into the stone itself, circular and vast. The tiers were half collapsed, statues and broken weaponry scattered across the sand below. The fog pooled in the center, faintly lit from below by veins of molten essence running through the floor. A rumble echoed, deep, slow, powerful. Dust fell from the arches. From the far shadows, something massive moved. That ground trembled beneath its steps before the creature emerged fully from the mist. A hulking hybrid, gorilla in its upper half, rhino below, armored plates fusing flesh and stone together. Its eyes burned red through the haze. SC's voice echoed in Bash's mind. Analyzing Natch found. Likely classification. Tier 2 greater. Strength attribute. Power type signature. Figures, Richter muttered, rolling his shoulders. We've been due for something with a bad temper. Bash gave a quick signal. Formation B. Keep the flanks clear. The creature roared. The sound rattled the entire structure. Then it charged. The impact shook the ground. Dark and Lyra raised mineral walls in front of it, their essence flaring bright white as pillars slanted up from the sand. The beast smashed through, them with raw force, scattering debris like shrapnel. Here we go, Richter bellowed, leaping forward with his hammer raised. The weapon crackled with blue lightning as he swung down, but before the strike could land, the creature twisted unnaturally fast for its size and punched. The blow connected square with Richter's chest, the sound like a cannon shot. He flew backward, crashing through a column before slamming into the arena wall. Richter, Terran sprinted across the field, sliding to her knees beside him. Her left hand pressed to his armor, her right lifted and fired twice, bursts of glowing light slamming into the monster, spreading her healing field. The glow from her glove pulsed down through her arm and into Richter's chest, knitting fractures as he gasped and coughed. Stay down, she said sharply. You take another hit like that and I'm not fixing it twice. Noted, he groaned. Naira's rifle cracked. The bullet glowed faint green, streaking through the fog and slamming into the Colossus's shoulder. Poison essence hissed on contact, burning through its hide. The creature bellowed again, swinging its arm, slower this time. The limb dragged, the muscle stiff. Bash, Nair called, that shot's doing something. Then keep hitting the same side. He answered. Everyone else, by her time. Callan launched a volley of arrows, each one trailing one resonance that curved through the air and exploded against the creature's chest. Leora and Dark coordinated their assault, raising pillars at its feet to break its charge, then smashing their mineral-enhanced blades down. As the beast stumbled, Leora switched affinity mid-swing. The blade burst into fire as it struck, burning deep into the wounds Dark had carved open. The hybrid shrieked, thrashing. Every blow it made now came slower, less precise. The arm Nair had hit barely moved. Its legs were beginning to tremble. Keep kiting, Bash shouted. Make it bleed out its own strength. He darted forward, twin knives spinning. Each blade struck deep into the joints of its front legs, and a moment later, the rays of an effect triggered, grinding through the wounds with a shrill metallic hum. Cracks spread through the armored chitin before the creature stumbled under its own weight. Hit it again, Bash shouted. Nair reloaded and fired. Fire laced this time. The shot tore through the damaged plating in the creature's skull. It reeled backward, roaring in pain. Ash took the opening, throwing his blade straight into the exposed spot between its eyes. The relic flared inside him, 2 echo strikes in perfect succession, each one slamming home. The skull fractured, Then it split. The beast fell forward with a final crash that shook the entire arena. The echo of the impact rolled through the ruins before fading into silence. Bash stayed still, chest heaving. The pulse came, hard and hot, straight to his core. T2G confirmation, SC reported. Strength attribute. He exhaled slowly, steadying himself. The others gathered near the corpse. Its chest still glowed faintly, the light pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Richter approached first, still wincing but grinning. He reached into the cavity and pulled free a massive heart-shaped core, half flesh, half stone, and veined with molten red. As they watched, it contracted, folding in on itself until it became a trinket, pulsing faintly in his hand. Richter turned the fragment over in his hands. The heart shimmered once, then shrank, condensing into a compact trinket that pulsed faintly before settling in his palm. Now that, he said, grinning, is a hell of a trophy. Naira crossed her arms. Try not to lose this one before we get back. Dark smirked. Or break it. You've got a real talent for smashing valuable things. That drew laughter from the group. Even Taryn smiled as she finished checking his vitals. You really are making it a habit, she said. Every fight. Same story. Richter gave a mock shrug. What can I say? I like giving. You worked. Dark leaned on his cleavers, grinning wide. You sure it's not that you like her patching you up? Laughter broke out again, louder this time, echoing off the arena walls. Taryn just shook her head, muttering something about children in armored suits, but there was a trace of warmth in her tone as she turned away, hiding the faintest smile. They sat down near the outer ring of the arena, exhaustion finally catching up to them. Scenes still rose from the creature's corpse. Bash leaned back against a broken pillar, eyes on the ceiling where cracks in the dome let in faint light from above. Callan broke the silence first. That was something. Didn't think poison would ever do that much. Death by 1,000 cuts, Leora said softly. That's what it looked like. Yeah, Iter muttered, stretching his arm. And it hit like a planet exploding. Bash gave a faint grin. Strength class. Makes sense. They ate in silence for a while, the quiet hum of cooling stone filling the air. Around them, the arena seemed ancient and endless, a forgotten stage for a fight that had happened long before them. Then Bash stood, glancing toward the next direction of the ruins. Once we're done resting, we go for the pack. Richter nodded. Let's make it count. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brundock Chapter 80. Rift Howlers, they left the Colosseum through the northern gate, weapons drawn, silence heavy around them. The static from the last fight still clung to the air, faint sparks crawling along fractured walls as they passed. Every sound felt amplified now, echoing down the hollow streets of the ruined city. No one spoke, not because they didn't want to, but because words might break the thin thread of focus keeping them upright. The final beacon on the map less than 100 meters away, the last recorded signature in the city. It pulsed faintly, a ghost from another squad's data log. They crossed through crumbling arches and stepped into what must once have been a grand courtyard. Broken marble paths stretched toward a sunken plaza, where mirror lakes had long since cracked and dried. Shattered glass and polished stone caught the faint light, scattering ghostly reflections through the fog. It's too quiet, Nair said softly. They reached the center of the plaza. No movement, no ambient resonance, just the faint drip of water echoing from somewhere unseen. Richter exhaled, lowering his hammer slightly. Map's wrong again. We're chasing ghosts. Callan and Nair stayed back, rifles up, eyes on the periphery. Bash checked the map again, then glanced to SC's faint projection in his visor. Any variance? Negative. She said in his mind. Beacon signature is static. No motion detected. A howl cut through the air, distant but low enough to shake dust loose from the broken pillars. Then came another, and another. Within seconds, the plaza filled with sound, 20, maybe 30 howls, layered and circling, each one echoing from a different direction. Bash's gut tightened. Formation. The team moved instantly, act back in a loose ring, weapons out, scanning the shifting fog. A faint distortion shimmered on the far edge of the plaza. The light bent slightly, air rippling like heat off metal. Then it vanished. Anyone see that? Nair whispered. Yes, Bash said grimly. And it's not winged. The air bent again, closer this time. Then they appeared. Dozens of wolf-like shapes flickered into existence, each one distorted and wrong. Their limbs were long, jointed at off angles, their hides split by glowing fissures that bled faint violet light. When they moved, reality stuttered, like the world couldn't decide where they belonged. SC's voice came sharp and clinical in Bash's mind. Species confirmed, Rift Howler, Blink-type mobility. Estimated count, 30. Bash's jaw tightened. We've got about 30, he said aloud. Rixer's eyes widened. 30? That's a damn army. Before anyone could speak again, the first one blinked. The sound was like air imploding, a heavy thunk that bent the space around it. Then claws and teeth. Before anyone could respond, the first one blinked. It vanished with a deep thunk of compressed air and reappeared in front of Leora mid-step. The swipe came faster than reaction time, claws scraping her chest plate and sending her sprawling. Contact! Bash roared. The entire pack surged forward in bursts of light and pressure, flashing in and out of existence as they encircled the group. Arrows and bullets flew, but every shot missed by inches, the howlers blinking aside milliseconds before impact. They are reading sound in motion, Callan shouted, loosing another arrow that sliced through nothing. Rixer swung wide with his hammer, the weapon tearing through fog, but when it hit, the creature was gone. It reappeared behind him, teeth sinking into his shoulder guard before blinking away again. Can't hit what won't stay still. Rixer snarled. Terran fired both pistols, the glowing rounds streaking through the fog, but every shot hit no. Ding! The howlers blinked away before impact, their displacements leaving her healing rounds to dissolve uselessly in the air. Keep moving, she shouted, frustration sharp in her voice. I can't hit them. Without targets, her resonance couldn't reach the others. She could only watch as cuts opened across armor, as sparks of blood and light marked every hit. The air warped, a shimmering ripple right behind Bash. He turned on instinct, knives flashing. The howler appeared mid-swipe, his blade catching its throat before it blinked again. The attack still landed, claws raked down his side, armor sparking. SC's voice threaded through the chaos. Facial displacement detectable, pressure differential spikes just before reappearance. Say that again, Bash panted. You can see them calm. Ing, she clarified. The air bends before they phase back in. Bash's eyes darted across the haze. He saw it, a ripple, barely visible, a shimmer before each blink. Watch the air, he yelled. You can track the distortion. Richter slammed his hammer into the ground, lightning arcing outward in a blinding ring. 3 howlers materialized mid-blink, caught by the discharge. Their bodies convulsed, locked in place for a second too long. Naira fired 2 quick bursts. The first shattered a howler's shoulder. The second blew its head apart. Darek and Leora moved in, blades carving into the other 2. Each death hit Bash like a heartbeat. The invisible pulse slammed through his chest, heavy and rhythmic. Tier 2 common blink step, SE confirmed. He ignored it and moved again. Lightning cracked, cut through the air. Richter was fighting like a storm given flesh. Each swing sent arcs dancing across the plaza, shorting out whatever spatial trick the howlers used. But they were relentless. 2 blinked directly behind Callan, striking in perfect sync. One clawed his back, the other slammed into his knee, spinning him around. He fired point blank, his wind-imbued arrow tearing through one's face before it vanished. The other blinked again, straight into Bash's blade. Razorvine shrieked as it tore through the beast's neck, grinding upward before bursting through its skull. The pulse that followed nearly dropped him. Terran shouted over the chaos. Bash, you still up? He twisted away from another blink strike, one knife flashing in a tight arc that caught a rift howler across the snout. Still here, he yelled back. Keep firing. Richter's bleeding heavily. Her guns flared, shots streaking wide through the fog. None landed. I can't hit them. They are gone before impact. Bash saw the air fold again, that ripple just before a howler reappeared. Watch for the shimmer, he called out, stabbing through the blur. They blink and right after it bends. I've got him, she said, sprinting across the battlefield. She slid in beside Richter, pressed one glowing hand to his armor, and fired a healing round over his shoulder into a rippling air. The bullet struck, light bursting on impact, waves of restorative energy radiating outward to both of them. Richter groaned, rolling his neck. That's better. Don't stop firing. Another ripple. Left, Bash shouted. The team pivoted. Leora flung high, her mineral-coated blade colliding with the howler as it blinked in, crushing its skull before it could react. The air exploded again. 5, 6, 7 blinks in rapid succession. The team scattered. Darek caught one on his cleaver's mid-leap, ripping it open. Callan shot another through the chest. Naira's shots burned the air, each one trailing streaks of essence, fire, and poison. Still, for every one they killed, it seemed to more flickered into view. Richter, Bash yelled. Lightning, full sweep, hit everything that moves. On it. Richter planted his hammer into the stone. Lightning webbed outward in a flash, striking half a dozen howlers mid-phase. The light froze them, electricity crawling over their bodies in crackling chains. Attack! Bash shouted. The entire team unleashed everything they had. Fire, arrows, bullets, and blades tore through the stunned beasts. Bodies hit the ground one after another, fading into motes of light that dissolved into the mist. But the Alpha wasn't among them. Its roar split the air like thunder. The distortion before its arrival was enormous, warping everything around them. Then it appeared, massive and twisted. Its hide split with deep violet fissures that burned brighter than the others. Alpha variant, SE said. Enhanced blink frequency. Power output 20-fold higher. Stay sharp. Bash bark. The Alpha blinked across the plaza in a storm of motion, each reappearance marked by a shockwave that threw dust and shards of stone into the air. Terran fired off a round, but it vanished before impact. Talon's arrows shattered on the ground where it had been. Too fast, Nair shouted. Rixer moved to intercept, lightning crawling across his armor. Then I'll make it slow down. The Alpha blinked behind him, jaws clamping down on his shoulder. Rixer roared in pain, his hammer falling from his grip, but instead of collapsing, he grinned through bloodied teeth and triggered his lightning burst directly through his body. The Alpha spasmed, every muscle locking. Now, Bash screamed. Nair's rifle barked. Talon's arrows followed. Lior and Dark charged in, blades carving glowing gashes into the creature's torso. Bash's knives hit next, Razorbeam activating, grinding deep into the exposed muscle. Terran, standing 10 meters back, emptied both pistols into the Alpha skull, each healing round doubling this. At concussive strike, the Alpha jerked once, light flooding from its mouth and eyes, then collapsed in a final burst of static. Silence swallowed the plaza. The air shimmered faintly, then went still. 32 rift howlers lay scattered across the plaza, their twisted limbs and cracked hides leaking faint violet light that pulsed once and faded. The fog pressed close again, muffling every breath, every step. No one spoke at first. The team just stood there, bloodied and armor torn. Then Bash lowered his blade, letting it rest against the fractured stone. Check the bodies, he said quietly. Collect everything. They moved methodically, cutting through the remains, pulling free the fragments, prying loose the fangs. Long, crystalline teeth shot through with threads of light, each knee thrumming faintly with residual energy. One by one, they sealed them into their pouches until the last was packed away. Bash fell to one knee, breathing hard. His armor smoked from a dozen shallow cuts. SC's voice reached him, low and steady. All essence absorbed. Classification. Tier 2 common. Blink step. He didn't answer, just nodded once. Terran moved between them, pressing her hands to armor and skin, her light pulsing with each touch. Callan's leg wound sealed. The aura's cracked plate fused. Dark's bruised ribs eased beneath the glow. Rixer groaned. I think I'm starting to hate wolves. Nair smirked, reloading. You just hate anything that bites back. Ash finally straightened, blades sliding back into their sheaths. We need a way for you to heal from a distance, Terran. Ending through lightning storms and claws every fight isn't sustainable. Before she could reply, as he spoke in his mind, when her healing core evolves, range restoration will be viable. She'll be able to transmit energy through imbued projectiles. Bash frowned slightly. Evolves? Another thing that didn't come with the upload? Affirmative. She said evenly. I'll explain later. He exhaled, muttering, of course. Terran stood, brushing off her gloves. Everyone stable enough to move. Rixer grunted. Define stable. Alive, Bash said simply. Then yeah, Rixer smirked. Barely, they gathered themselves in silence. The plaza, once filled with echoes, now felt hollow. Bash looked around at the team, battered, scorched, but still standing. No unlocks, he said quietly. But we got WH. That we came for, if all it ended up being was confirmation of no more unlocks. Leora nodded. And lived. Barely, Dark muttered, sheathing his cleavers. They turned toward the fog, where the faint shimmer of the return path waited. The last city beacon had gone dark, and with it, the last sound of the howlers. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genes. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brenda.